Hello and welcome to PL SQL for Beginners. My name is Rafik Donna, and in the coming weeks I'm going to be posting a video a week for those who want to learn PL SQL programming language. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you already know how to write SQL statements like select, insert, update, and delete, and you also know a little bit about the Oracle database architecture and how to design program logic. Now, PL SQL is very much like any other programming language you may be aware of, like Java, C#, and C++, but it is natively integrated into the Oracle database engine, and as such, you do not need to open a JDBC connection to your database in order to execute statements. We have two types of PL SQL blocks. We call the first one anonymous block, and the other one a name block. Anonymous, as the name suggests, do not have a name, and it's normally used for ad hoc processing. The name block, however, is compiled and stored as a database object in your database engine, and it can be reused across multiple applications. So let's start. Regardless of whether it is a name block or an anonymous block, you will have three sections, basically the declaration section, the execution section, and the exception section. Now, the execution section is the only one required for a valid construct. The declaration can be optional, it can be left out, so it's the exception portion. So let's just begin and see how we walk through each of these sections. We're going to start with the declaration. It normally will start with the keyword declare, and then it will end with begin. Now, between these, you have to declare all variables that you need in your program. There are various ways of declaring them, and so we'll use each of them and see how we do it. I'm going to declare a variable called member ID. So the first thing I need to do is to give it a name, and I have to specify the data type. In this case, I'm going to give it a Packer2 data type, and I'm going to say that it is of size 20. Optionally, you can give it a default value by typing the keyword default, and then you just give it, like, say, a value of 100 or 102, whatever value you give as the default value. You could also have a declaration like this. Let's declare an account number like this. This one, we're going to anchor it into a database catalog object. There is a table called member, and it has got a column called member ID. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take the data type of the column of this table and assign that column data type to the V account number. To do that, we will have to type the object name, and then we will say account number percentage type, like so. So what we're doing is that we're saying that go into the table called member, get the account column, and get a data type and assign it to the account. You could also declare a constant value. Sometimes some values don't change. So in that case, you would declare them as constant. For example, let's say pi. We all know in geometry class that the pi has a constant value, and that value is 3.4 something. I don't know if I still remember this, but I think I do know I'm right. This is how we declare a constant. You have to bring the keyword constant, give it a number. In this case, you will have to assign a value to it, because it's a constant. When you do the declaration, you have to assign a value to it. Okay, so between the begin, we can have an exception section like this. And then we have the end. This one will end our block. Between the begin and the exception is where we will do our processing. First thing we need to do is inside the processing is to fill these variables that we have declared with values. We can get them through various means. That we may ask the user to enter a value for the member ID, or we could go into the database and fetch a data item from it, and then we put it into our variable. Let's do the second, take the second option. So we're going to say select account number. We have to put it into the variable that we've declared. So in this case, we have a variable called main account number. We will say from member where the member ID is equals to 1002. Okay, now that we have this value filled up, let's just process it, and we will do that with the DBMS package. We just say DBMS output dot put underscore line, and we're gonna say account number is something. We say okay, so this is our processing. Assuming that something goes wrong while we're doing the processing, we're going to catch that in our exception block, and we'll say when others, then what do we do? If there's an error somewhere in the program, then we're going to say, we're going to print something out to tell the user what is wrong. We just say, let's go put underscore line, and we will simply say something like that. Okay, so this is it. This is how we're going to your normal process PL/SQL anonymous block. You have the declaration section where you declare all your variables. You have your processing section and optional exception, and that's it. So let's execute this block and see what happens. Okay, so we got the account number and the account ID that is associated with it from the database. So this is how we do PL/SQL anonymous block. And as I said from the beginning, this is not stored in your database, so you lose everything that you have written so far if you do not keep the text. It is ad hoc, and therefore it's not required to be reused. However, if you want to keep it as a library in your database engine and reuse it across multiple applications, then you have to create it as a store procedure. This is how we do that. You say create or replace procedure. You give it a name, let's just say printout or something, yeah, whatever name you give it to it, and then you have to specify parameters that you want to pass into this store procedure. If there are parameters that you want to pass in, let's just pass in the programmer name. It's program we're gonna say is a varchar2 data type, and then you have the keyword is. Now between the is and the begin is where you do your declaration, and again you're going to have your exception section if you want it. It's optional anyway, and then you're going to have your end. So this is a basic structure. Oh, you have to mention it that create or replace procedure like this. Okay, so here we're going to do the same declarations as we did before. Let me just copy all of these and come and put them right down here, so we don't need to retype them and save a little bit of time. Okay, so we're going to have them the same way as this. We have the member ID having the default value of this. We have the account number, we have the pi and the rest. So let's do the execution again. We're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to do it a little bit different. We'll just say select account number again into this variable, account number variable, where the member ID is equals to this member ID here, which is a variable. So whatever value that it holds, you have to replace it here. And then we're going to do a DBMS output. So once we have that, let's just put a DBMS output right here. And then we're going to say, we put in this one right here. Okay, so the declaration is good. And the exception section, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say when others then what do? We do the same thing. Just print out some message to tell the user that something is wrong. Okay, so this is going to be our PL SQL block, which is not a named block that will be stored in your database and can be reused across multiple applications. So let's compile this, and if everything is alright, we can execute and see how it works. Okay, well, it is compiled successful. We don't have any error. And to call this, you can use an anonymous block to execute it. What we can do is that we'll use anonymous block. As I said before, anonymous block is only the execution section that is compulsory or that is required. The rest is not required. So you have to specify between the beginning and the end. We're gonna say, okay, we call in the function and the procedure that we created, and then we'll just give it a name. For example, let me just say, okay, let's give it a name like this. We call this procedure, and it should execute. Okay, let's see. Let's execute this stop procedure. Voila, we get the same account as before using this, but this one is stored in the database as a database object. The first one is not stored in the database as a database object. So this is how we design programs, or the basic structure of a PL SQL block. Let's make this a little bit fancy. We do not use this variable that we pass into the store procedure, and that is not right. So let's do something. We're going to say the store procedure of, let's say, for example, the account number of whoever we pass in, which is this guy right here. And then we will say is and then that. So this is what we're gonna do. So let's recompile this and see how it works. Okay, so it's recompiled successful. Now if we execute this anonymous block, we should see the name now concatenated. So we see the account number of whoever we call X. Yes. So this is how we design PL SQL blocks. Let's go through it. And as I said, the aim of this first video is just to show you the basic block structure of a PL SQL block and the various types of blocks that we have. And we have the anonymous block, and then we have the name block. The anonymous block is ad hoc, which means that it's not stored in your database and cannot be reused unless you have the code in your text file and you can re-execute it. Regardless of whether it is an anonymous block or it is a named block, it has got three sections. We have the declaration section where you declare all your variables. We have the processing section where your business logic is executed, and if something goes wrong, you'll catch it in the exception section and then you process it. It is the same across both anonymous and PL SQL and name blocks. For the name block, it's the same thing, but you don't have the keyword declare. Instead, you have the create or replace procedure or function or package or whatever it will be. You see all of these in the future, and then you have all of this. So thanks for watching, and keep your comments down.